Victims of abuse will often give gifts in an attempt to buy love, an attempt to feel wanted, needed, special, and valued. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I've spent many years working with perpetrators of abuse and victims of abuse, and I want to respond to this post. This commenter responded, on my post about, abusers who give extravagant gifts. She's also talking about how I bought my ex an expensive leather jacket with my first real full-time job. It took my entire paycheck for Christmas. I felt grateful to have the job and a new boyfriend. I was conditioned to take care of others before myself. So if you have been raised in an abusive family, a lot of times in an abusive family, if you're the victim of the abuse, you've been conditioned to believe that you and I are not on the same level, and you're not worthy of being addressed or respected in any way unless you do something for me. And so abusive and toxic families can be very transactional in terms of how they communicate and how they relate to each other. And I talked a lot about, my study. And in one of the studies, I talked with a woman who was a professional thief. And she talked a lot about how, it's something that she didn't want to do anymore. Necessarily, she kept going to prison and jail and so on and so forth for being a professional booster, is what they call it. But that was the only way she could have a relationship with her mother. So her mother would only call her and only want to interact with her, like go out to lunch or spend some time with her children and so on and so forth, is if this woman would risk her freedom and go out and steal something. You go out and steal Louis Vuitton, you go out and steal some Tiffany stuff, you go out and, if I give you this order, you go out and steal it, then, then we got something to talk about. Then, we can spend some time together. But if you can't do anything for me, then you're dead to me. I don't really have anything for you. Tina Turner I saw a little snippet recently where Tina Turner talked very similarly about her mother, like that. Her mother, her mother accepted her when the gifts were coming. So when Tina would buy her a new house, a new car, and things like that, then I love you, then we have a relationship. But the minute that stops, or if you don't come bearing gifts, I've got nothing for you. And so that's how abusers are, right? They need that in order for them to validate you. And the reason is because that relationship is very, very transactional. They really don't have a good history or an ability to really keep up a relationship, but because so many people are attached to their mothers or to their dads, or want that attachment, they're going to try to have a relationship and overcompensate by any means necessary. And when we do that, that unfortunately carries over to other relationships that we have with friends and romantic partners, where we may feel like we need to do certain things in order to keep their love. So we need to buy them things. We need to give them sex or do things we don't necessarily want to do to keep that person around, because that is what I was taught to do. That is what I was taught that love is, that it's not enough to just be myself and for you to love me for being myself. I have to be performative. I have to give you what you want, and then you can decide whether or not you value me enough or not based off of what I'm giving you. If you like the gift, then you can be nice to me for 5 minutes, but you're going to go right back to treating me like crap as soon as the luster of that gift or whatever I gave you wears off. As soon as that's done, you've got nothing for me, and I have to, there's going to be something else that I have to do in order to get that 5 minutes of attention, that 5 minutes of warmth, a smile. We're essentially begging for crumbs for a relationship. And that does happen where you're just sort of buying love, and you've been taught that, like, the only way I can get someone to care for me, like me, or, but, be in their friend group is if I buy them stuff. And that's a lot of times, even though you may have experienced that victimization, narcissists also do that too. Where you see narcissists, and nobody really talks about this, but narcissists often get taken advantage of, right? Because narcissists love to chase validation. So again, that modeling may have taken place too. In addition to how they treated you, you can also see how they show up for other people, and that they chase validation with other people. So a lot of times narcissists will get hoodwinked into scams and other things like that, because they too are also trying to keep up with the Joneses. They too are trying to get that outside validation, and they're not worried about family, but they will often chase behind other people to try and get that. So there could be that modeling component of it too. But yeah, you can certainly get caught up in and misconstrue, especially as a woman, how courtship is supposed to go. Am I supposed to, prove my undying love or the care that I have for you by spending my last dime on getting you something just for, a couple of minutes of your love and attention? Thanks for bringing this up. Be sure to share, like, and follow if this has been helpful, and great question.